Chapter 7, Health and Safety Issues. Our first objective, explain organizational risk management. Company officers should understand how to manage risk associated with fire and emergency services through the risk management process. It is a process of identifying, analyzing exposures to hazards, selecting appropriate techniques to handle exposures, implementing chosen techniques, and monitoring results of those techniques. Maximizing health, safety directly related to policy, procedure design to reduce risk. Overall, risk management plans should have 3 sections. 1. A community risk assessment. Not a direct function of the company officer, but the information will provide the company officer with the known risk in the community that responders may be exposed to. 2. An organizational risk management plan. Evaluate risk and hazards that can affect the organization. Provide control measures to reduce the frequency, severity, and the probability of negative events from occurring. And finally, operational risk management processes. All 3 sections of the risk management plan provide fire and emergency service organizations with a foundation that addresses inherent risk and hazards that can potentially harm the organization and its members. Organizational risk management plan. Risk identification in the community within the organization. Within operational settings and emergency and non-emergency incidences. Risk evaluation. Probability and potential for negative consequences. You need to anticipate severity, frequency of occurrence. Establishment of priorities for actions. Ranking of identified risk will be based on the degree of severity and frequency. Risk control techniques. Control measures will be identified for each of the significant risk. And risk management monitoring, ongoing process, and recommendations for plan revision based on the monitoring process. The operational risk management process. Company officers must understand how to manage risk through a risk management process. Maximization of a health and safety in the fire emergency services directly related to policy and procedures and designed to reduce risk. Examples of risk management. It is a 5-step process that maintains a continuous loop. First is situational awareness. Communicate the plans, weather factors, and previous incident behaviors. 2. Hazard assessment. Identify the hazard. Consider severity and future impact. 3. Hazard control. Contain, isolate, or eliminate the hazard. 4. Decision point. Determine if appropriate resources are available. Assessments have been made and understood, and tactics are appropriate. 5. Evaluate. Determine if risk management plan is working. What is changing? If personnel are able to complete the assignment. And then you start all over again with the process through situational awareness all the way to evaluation. Review question. What are the basic principles of an organizational risk management? Objective 2. Describe emergency service casualties. Risk management plans can reduce risk, but not all risks can be eliminated. Unfortunately, casualties can occur. They can occur at emergency instances, in transit to and from the emergencies, during training, and during work shift at the station or other facilities. Knowing statistics, causes, help company officer provide safety training and instruction to reduce and perhaps eliminate the risk. Broad range of initiatives are available and results can be implementation of safety policy procedures that ensure safe working environments. Emergency scene casualties. Personnel frequently incur injuries while providing emergency services. Leading injuries include sprains, strains, and the result of physical demands of the job. Other types include trauma, such as cuts and bruises, burns, and asphyxiation, as well as thermal stress. A majority of injuries occur during fire attack and search and rescue operations. Responders must be able to recognize unsafe acts and conditions to reduce injury and fatalities. Individual members of the crew or outside forces may contribute to unsafe acts and conditions. Company officers must recognize and take appropriate actions when crew members perform unsafe acts, not avoiding unsafe conditions. Company officers should reference injury and fatality data to stay current on trends. Good sources of information include NIOSH reports, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and of course the U.S. Fire Administration, as well as NFPA. Other good resources are Everyone Goes Home and near miss reporting systems. Unfortunately, non-emergency workplace casualties do occur. During administrative duties, training, code enforcement, maintenance, and other non-incident related situations. A high percentage of these are related to cardiac arrest, especially during training-related fatalities, has risen in recent years. Officers should be aware of fire and emergency service health and safety initiatives. They have become high priorities intended to reduce injury and fatalities in the fire and emergency services. Being aware of the initiatives encourage crews to follow. They include such things as Fire and Life Safety Initiative, which is a blueprint for reducing death and injury, firefighterclosecalls.com, a website that produces independent newsletter sharing information on close calls resulting in injuries and fatalities. Events. EMS Voluntary Event Notification Tool collects data on EMS practitioners to develop policies, procedures, and training. The EMS Safety Foundation, non-for-profit think tank that promotes EMS safety initiative and collaboration, research, knowledge transfer, education, and safety information dissemination. Fire and EMS Safety, Health, and Survival Week. The IAFC and the IAFF sponsored this event. The IAFC Safety, Health, and Survival section and the IAF Division of Occupational Health and Safety Medicine and more than 20 national fire service organizations coordinate the event. During the week, fire departments are encouraged to suspend all non-emergency activities and focus entirely on safety, health, and wellness-related training and education. Essentially, it is a stand-down week where the training revolves around just being safe and what we can do to be safe. The International Association of Fire Chiefs Rules of Engagement for Firefighters Survival. 11 rules that provide guidance to individual firefighters regarding risk and safety issues when operating on the fire ground. Another resource is the IFC Incident Commander's Rules of Engagement for Firefighter Safety, which also lists 11 rules that provide guidance to the incident commanders regarding risk and safety issues when operating on the fire ground. The National Firefighter Near Miss Reporting System is voluntary, confidential, and non-punitive. It is a secure reporting system for improving safety. This is a cooperative effort between the IFC and the IAFF. The National Volunteer Firefighter Council Rules of Engagement for Firefighter Health also has 10 rules for firefighters to pursue a healthier lifestyle. All these groups and agencies have websites where you can find this information and offer a great tool to be used as company training that you can go over with the men and women in your company. Learning objective number 3. Identify basic workplace safety, policies, and procedures. Company officers must be knowledgeable of all local, state, and federal laws relating to firefighter safety and health. Each department should establish safety policies and procedures specific to their department's operation. Many reference standards and regulations such as NFPA 1500, 1521, 1561, and 1581, as well as 82 and 84. Other great resources are OSHA Safety and Health Standard 1910.134 Respiratory Protection. Company officers should be familiar with the local safety policies and procedures and their application. Periodic training sessions should help to ensure the unit is familiar with them. Practical training evolutions and company-level training should include application of appropriate safety policies and procedures. Establish health and safety programs, basic to all safety policies and procedures. They are comprised of smaller programs and components, and they should include such things as accident, injury, and illness prevention programs, exposure control programs, and a comprehensive physical fitness and wellness program. Review question. What is the purpose of having basic workplace safety policies and procedures? Learning objective 4. Describe basic workplace safety. Company officers should address safety issues with their personnel each and every shift. Workplace safety consists of activities that ensure a safe work environment. It protects employees from job-related injuries, illness, and exposure to hazardous material unnecessarily. The management holds ultimate responsibility of providing safety at the workplace. This should be attained through training, policies and procedures, maintenance of facilities and equipment. Company officers are responsible for implementing the policies and procedures, reporting the need for maintenance and replacement of unsafe equipment. Company officers must recognize and take appropriate action when crew members perform unsafe acts, not avoiding unsafe conditions. Responder workplace is not a single location. There are multiple locations and routes of transportation connections that you need to be familiar with. Organization and company officers have no control over a majority of these locations. Only organizational facilities, stations, and apparatus can be directly controlled and made safe as possible. The workplace can be generally divided into emergency scenes, en route to and from emergency scenes, and facilities. Company officers must also be familiar with the organizational health and safety programs. Programs should be applied to all areas of the workplace and should provide information and methods for ensuring a safety work culture is developed. So let's look at some issues en route to and from an emergency scene. Unsafe acts or conditions are responsible for many injuries. Fatalities while personnel are en route to and from an incident. Some accidents can be controlled through your apparatus design and maintenance, driver operator training certifications, and some underlying causes of accidents can be avoided. Company officers should recognize and correct unsafe acts and conditions to reduce and prevent accidents. Unsafe acts during response. Responders should be trained on safe vehicle operation before responding to and leaving scenes. They may occur in organizational vehicles or POVs. They should pay special attention to training and educating drivers. They must enforce organizational policies. During times personnel are traveling to and fro a scene, company officers should address any unsafe act immediately. And those unsafe acts include some of the following: speeding, driving too fast for conditions, no seatbelt, driving too close to other vehicles, and not obeying traffic laws, as well as the lack of vehicle maintenance. Unsafe conditions during responses out of control of the officers. The company officer must recognize conditions and ensure the drivers take appropriate precautions. In those such instances such as inclement weather, pedestrians in or near the roadway, poor road conditions, and traffic, to name a few. On the emergency scene, applications of policies and procedures at the emergency scene can help prevent and reduce injuries and fatalities and ensure a safe work environment. The company officers should comply, enforce, and educate personnel on these policies and procedures. They must maintain accountability of personnel on the scene. Company officers must address both unsafe acts and conditions to ensure scene safety. Unsafe acts and internal factors that company officers or members of the crew perform. Unsafe conditions are externally controlled and should be recognized and addressed appropriately. Unsafe acts at the emergency scene. Scene safety should be taught in training programs before the company officer or crew members are allowed to respond to an emergency scene. Training is the best way to ensure responders do not perform unsafe acts during an incident. If unsafe acts occur during and on-scene operations, company officer or crew members who recognize the act should address the situation immediately. Some examples of unsafe acts: operating independently of the incident commander, i.e., freelancing; not maintaining crew integrity; not having proper communication with the IC or dispatch; not having the appropriate PPE; lack of situational awareness; and lack of appropriate rehab. Unsafe conditions at emergency scenes. They are a product of an emergency scene environment and usually out of the company officer's control. However, you must recognize these conditions and act appropriately to maintain scene safety. Some examples include zero visibility, unsafe structural conditions, and a rapid moving or uncontrolled fire. Hostile crowds, unstable vehicles, and environment may also come into play. Facilities. Poorly maintained facilities may contribute to an accident, injury, illness, or fatalities, such as fire stations, training centers, administrative offices, and maintenance buildings. Proper maintenance, one of the best methods for providing a safe workplace. Company officers and building managers should be responsible for reporting needs for repair and ensuring they are completed. Safe operation and maintenance of facilities. Annual facility inspections should be conducted according to policy. Unsafe acts at the facility. Company officers should recognize the unsafe act, such as not using warning signs for wet surfaces, using power tools or hand tools improperly, climbing stairs improperly, improper lifting of heavy objects, or of course, the ever popular horseplay. Unsafe conditions the company officer should recognize and know how to address. Poor lighting, wet, oily floors, slippery conditions such as icy sidewalks, and poor maintenance issues. Objective 5. Identify elements of a health and wellness and safety program. Cardiac arrest is the most common cause of firefighter fatalities. Wellness programs intended to reduce the risk of cardiac arrest or other health problems. This should be addressed through education, fitness, and nutrition. Company officers should encourage the crew to maintain good health through routine medical screening, proper nutrition, weight control, physical fitness, and participation in such programs as tobacco cessation programs, drug and alcohol abuse programs, and referring employees to the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, when necessary. Safety-related inspections are meant to ensure the integrity of the equipment, vehicles, facilities, and personnel qualifications. Proper integrity works with risk analysis to ensure safety and become the end product. Company officers should ensure inspections occur in accordance with policies and procedures. Many organizations have established timeframes when inspections must occur. Company officers may be asked to conduct safety inspections at any time. Equipment, PPE, tools, and gear included or not limited to such things as rescue gear, medical gear, and firefighter gear. Vehicles. Company officers should conduct safety inspections for any vehicles that have been assigned to the facility. Safety inspections may include, but are not limited to, traffic deterrent devices, aerial test, pump test, and routine vehicle maintenance. Facilities. The company officer should conduct safety inspections of assigned facilities. It may include, but are not limited to, proper lighting, trip hazards, up-to-date and fit-for-service fire extinguishers, and compliance with local electrical code, installed systems and equipment. Personnel qualifications. Company officers should ensure qualifications appropriate for each individual's duty and assignments. Include, but not limited to, such things as medical certification, i.e., EMT, first responder, and paramedic. Vehicle apparatus operation certification, such as the completion of an NFPA 1002 driver course, and professional qualifications. Infection control. It is very important that company officers should support and encourage infection control programs. Some occupational illnesses result from exposure to infectious diseases. Infectious control programs should be established to control and manage these threats. Medical exposure programs and NFPA 1581 standard for Fire Department Infection Control Company is a great resource. Written plans should clearly explain the intent, the benefit, and the purpose. They should include components that make up education and training requirements, as well as vaccinations for such things as hepatitis B, hepatitis A, anthrax, flu, and TB. Documentation and record keeping should be required. Cleaning and decontamination and disinfection of personal equipment should always be done. There should be an infection control reporting protocol. Rehab is a big part of the fire scene and should be taken seriously by company officers. Conditions that can negatively impact health and safety of a responder, such as physical stress of the firefighter, dangers of hot and cold weather. Increased risk of illness or injury may jeopardize safety of others when members are not provided ample opportunity to rehabilitate prior to continuing their job. Rehabilitation includes such things as adequate rest and rehydration during training and emergency operations. Company officers should enforce policies and procedures when it comes to this. The use of NFPA 1584, the standard on rehab, spells out excellent things to do. Organizations that does not have procedures should develop policies and procedures. Company officers should comply with rehab policies and procedures. Monitoring and evaluating environmental work activities of the personnel. Ensure that rehab is established and they have adequate resources available, such as water and cooling towels. Ensure that there is medical monitoring there and that they have rehydration provided. Ensure appropriate locations and notifications of rehab facilities are communicated to the personnel. Accident investigations. Unfortunately, company officers must follow organizational prescribed procedures and conduct accident investigations. They need to be accurately and complete appropriate accident investigation forms. In conducting an investigation, the company officer should collect basic information about the participants, event, and the incident. Investigations should provide general information as to date and time of incident, the type of incident or illness, location and emergency response types, and names of witnesses, as well as employee characteristics such as participants, names, unit, age, rank. Environmental information should also be included, such as weather, temp, whether it's day or night, the noise, visibility, and terrain. If there is equipment involved, the apparatus equipment information should also be included, such as the type of equipment involved, the age, the condition, maintenance history, and distinguishing characteristics of the equipment. The final portion of the report is a narrative which describes things, and it should include observation from the officer, eyewitnesses, participant reviews, and information from other sources like law enforcement and dispatch information. These reports should be very objective in nature, meaning that you are not relaying your opinion. You are stating basically the facts: who, what, when, where, why, and how. Injuries, illness, and exposures. When unit members experience job-related injuries, illness, or exposures, there should be a first due medical treatment that ensures prompt medical treatment is done. If serious, they must be transported to medical treatment facilities. Once insured individual receives treatment, they can begin the investigation. Investigation generally include the same information gathered as accidents, with some general differences. A job-related illness may require more time service of specialty organizations. They may occur sometime after the event, and they must focus on an idea that data may lead to discovery of environmental causes. So basically what they're getting at here is, let's say one of your crew member comes down with hepatitis or TB. So you need to be looking for times when they've been exposed to hepatitis B or TB. The exposure investigation may occur immediately following the incident or at some time in future point when the symptoms appear. They require accurate and thorough documentation of incidents and exposures. That's why it's very important when exposure does happen that it gets documented initially. And what is an exposure? An exposure is basically when yourself or an employee is exposed to some sort of biological or chemical agent. An exposure can be blood or bodily fluid in eyes, mouth, or open cuts. Long-range investigation examples frequently occur with cancer patients from single station in one city. The symptoms may appear years or later into retirement, so the attempt to determine the cause include water, air sampling, and testing for asbestos. There should be a review of all emergency response members that have been on duty with that individual or at that station. So what they're looking for is, in these things such as cancer, trends where, well, more than one person had cancer, they served at the same station, so the preponderance of the evidence say more likely than not they were exposed to something, and it should be a workman's comp type issue. Summary. Risk management is essential in safety programs. Company officers must ensure a safe working environment in all possible ways, including thorough and a comprehensive health and safety program. Holistic physical fitness and wellness prevention and education can reduce injuries, fatalities, health and lost time cost, and can improve morale. Company officers must take health and safety a priority for subordinates and act as a good role model and ensure SOPs and safe practices are performed. Okay, gang, so we've covered a lot. Make sure you do the learning activities for this chapter listed in Blackboard as well as the review questions. If you have any questions, you can reach me in the office or email me at aroberts@athenstech.edu. Until next time, be safe and have a wonderful day.